In today's episode of the Giraldo Show, we're going to be discussing a little bit of the Oscars, some national poll numbers, and we're going to be discussing a little bit about the New Hampshire primary that is going to go on tomorrow. My name is Sebastian Giraldo, and you are listening to the Giraldo Show. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for tuning in to the Giraldo Show. I am your host, Sebastian Giraldo. Welcome back, I guess I should say to myself, because it's been a little bit of time before unless I've uploaded an episode. I do apologize for that. I've just been a little bit busy, and I mean, I'll be honest, after all of the Senate impeachment stuff, there really wasn't much news to go on, so I took a break for schoolwork, but also because I really didn't see much to report. But so much has happened over the weekend that I just don't have enough time to talk about it in one episode. I would talk about the Democratic debate that happened on Friday, but I mean, if you even knew there was a Democratic debate on Friday, you would know that it was boring. It wasn't as boring as the last one, I'll give it that. Even though this one was 3 hours long, it was a lot more interesting because we had Joe Biden yelling, Tom Steyer yelling. I think they got a little bit more caffeine in their systems when they were trying to, debate. So it just became a little bit more interesting in that they talked a lot about impeachment. It was just, I wasn't really too interested in it, but I had to watch it for you guys. But really in today's episode, what we're going to discuss is going to concern more about Sunday, what happened in the Oscars. I'm recording this on Monday. For those who are wondering in the trailer, or in the teaser that I gave, why I said the New Hampshire primaries were tomorrow, I actually mean today because the episode is being released on Tuesday, but I'm recording this on Monday, so apologies for that, but the New Hampshire primaries are going to be going on today. We're going to talk about that. So we're going to talk about some national poll numbers that include a potential new frontrunner, and we're going to talk about the Oscars and how their ratings have basically plummeted. Well, not basically. They have plummeted because of all of the... We'll just talk about it when we get to that segment. But let's go ahead and start with the New Hampshire primary. So Iowa finally came out with results. Pete Buttigieg won because he had more delegates, but Bernie Sanders had more of a popular vote. So there's where it just becomes interesting to see what happens there. So the Pete Buttigieg, 13 delegates with 26.2% of the votes for the delegates, 564. Bernie Sanders with 12 delegates, 26.1% at 562 votes. So again, interesting there. Pete Buttigieg, a lot of people are saying he might have cheated. Potentially. Bernie Sanders maybe got cheated off of the win there, but it seems that in New Hampshire he's most likely going to win. So Pete Buttigieg right now looks like he's the number one runner, but he's probably going to get taken down from Bernie because of what this New Hampshire poll is trying to tell us. So the New Hampshire primary has been a roller coaster ride with one less hairpin turn in the final night of the exclusive WBZ Boston Globe Suffolk University tracking poll. This is according to Boston CBS Local. Bernie Sanders appears to be cementing his hold on first place with 27%, while Pete Buttigieg, who had surged into a virtual tie with Sanders at the week, ended in second place with 19%. Amy Klobuchar, surprisingly, continuing her momentum from what happened last night. This is reported on the 9th, so Sunday, so yesterday. He's 14% showing, which is good for third place. Joe Biden and Elizabeth Warren is within that 4.4 margin of error, so it could be Joe Biden or Elizabeth Warren that takes away that third place. Joe Biden kind of screwed himself over when he was talking about the polls. He's saying, I'll take a big hit in Iowa and I'll probably take a big hit in New Hampshire. Joe Biden, you can't really sell yourself short. It doesn't make you seem very confident. In addition to these statewide numbers, Suffolk has also been polling the city of Dover, a so-called bellwether community that has foreshadowed the statewide order of finish in the last three contested Democratic primaries. And the response to our poll seems to confirm the statewide trend. The Dover polling has Sanders and Buttigieg closer together, finishing first and second within the 5.6% margin of error of each other. But running solidly in third is Klobuchar, and also ran in our poll all week, who has seemingly picked up steam off of a widely acclaimed debate performance on Friday night. Joe Biden came in fourth place, just barely ahead of Elizabeth Warren, both within reach of Klobuchar, but with a showing that has to be a disappointment for both of them. David Paleologos, the director of the Suffolk University Political Research Center, I apologize if I mispronounced that name, said, quote, "This is the first time all of the survey is post-debate. Whether Klobuchar's spike is temporary remains to be seen. Sanders' improvement comes in two areas: the west/north region, the four counties that know him best, and people torn between him and Warren. If Klobuchar would have finished third or fourth, she's going to knock someone into that fifth spot, a real dire place to be for Biden or Warren. Of course, the only poll that matters is the one in the voting booth on Tuesday, so get out and vote, and then watch your vote count with our special primary night coverage at 8 p.m. This is a little bit of a plug for them, 8 p.m. on TV 38, blah, blah, blah. That's basically what we're going at with the New Hampshire stuff. So Bernie Sanders could potentially take the lead for everything, but we have Super Tuesday, Voting Tuesday, whatever it's called, coming up, and we'll see. That's basically what's going to determine who's going to stay in, who's going to drop out. I think it's basically just going to be between the top five: Bernie, Pete, Biden, Warren, and Bloomberg. I think those are going to be the five that at least survive throughout these next couple months. And then I think it's going to come down between Biden and Bernie. And even though I don't think the Democrats really want Bernie to win the nomination, I think he might actually come up with it. It's going to be difficult because Joe Biden is going to really appeal to the moderates, the moderate Democrats, as you could call them. But Bernie has a chance in this election. Now, I've seen a lot of Republicans kind of say, oh, well, we want Bernie. It's like, well, don't really sell Bernie too short. I mean, yes, Trump would handle Bernie easily in a debate stage. Let's just be clear about that. But beside that point, I think it's important to note that that's exactly the same attitude that Hillary Clinton had when she asked for Donald Trump to run against her. She's like, oh, run against me, Donald Trump, and I'll certainly beat you. And then she did not expect Michigan, Florida, and all of these swing states to really swing toward Trump. So that's the thing with kind of being confident about your situation. Don't always think that you have it in the bag because you might be surprised. So again, for Republicans out there, if you want Bernie, but take it with a grain of salt that your wish might be granted, but it might be granted in the wrong way. So let's go ahead and look at some of the presidential nomination polls, the national polls. We're going to look at that, and we're going to look at an article talking about a brand new poll from Quinnipiac, I believe the name is, that shows a potential frontrunner, because the frontrunner looks like it's still Joe Biden, but by a very, very small margin. It has become, Joe Biden has dropped tremendously in the averages. So the most recent polling numbers are coming from the February 9th. So the RCP average is from the 27th of January to the 9th of February. Joe Biden, at 23% of the vote, is leading. Bernie Sanders is 22.7%. So he is 0.3% behind Joe Biden. This could be the first time that Bernie Sanders takes the lead in the national polling data. Elizabeth Warren in third place with 15.3%. Michael Bloomberg with 12.7%. Pete Buttigieg with 8.3%. Amy Klobuchar with 4.3%, Andrew Yang with 3%, Tulsi Gabbard with 2%, Tom Steyer with 2%, and then the rest of the candidates that haven't dropped out, but that they probably should drop out eventually. So what has led to this extreme surge for Bernie Sanders? Well, we have a poll here from Quinnipiac University that released today on Monday that showed for the first time that one 2020 Democratic Party presidential candidate has a clear lead over the other candidates following in the aftermath of the recently held first-in-the-nation Iowa caucuses. In the poll, Bernie Sanders overtook former Vice President Joe Biden as the national frontrunner with 25% of the vote among Democratic voters and independent voters who lead in Democratic. This is what the poll said. Number one was Bernie Sanders with 25%. Joe Biden was at number 2 at 17%. Michael Bloomberg and Elizabeth Warren close behind with 15% and 14% respectively. Pete Buttigieg at 10%. Amy Klobuchar at 4%, and everyone else that is still in the running was at 2% or less, including Andrew Yang, Tulsi Gabbard, etc. In terms of percentage change since the last poll, here's what it found. Bernie Sanders went up 4%. Joe Biden went down 9%, a huge drop. Michael Bloomberg went up 7%. Elizabeth Warren went down 1%. Pete Buttigieg went up 4%. And Amy Klobuchar went down 3%. So, a bit of a shift there from the not-so-expected candidates. I didn't expect Michael Bloomberg to get so much traction, but it looks like he's gaining some traction right now. Quinnipiac University poll analyst Tim Malloy said, quote, Biden scrambles to bounce back in frigid New Hampshire after an icy slide to 17%. his lowest national number. Is the Bloomberg camp prepping the white horse for him to ride to the rescue? Maybe not, but without setting foot in Iowa or New Hampshire, he is suddenly a looming shadow over the primary field. And I think that's a good point that Tim Malloy makes. If Bloomberg drops out, which I think will eventually happen, the Bloomberg crowd's going to go to Biden, and I think that might be what takes it over the top. The thing with Bernie is that Bernie's support really is between Bernie's and Warren, and when Warren drops out, that Warren support will go to Bernie, but I think Bloomberg's support is bigger in terms of he seems to be more moderate, in quotes, for what you can call a Democrat being moderate. Clearly, Biden's fourth place finish in Iowa was hurt the perception of what was his biggest strength, electability. Yeah, that's true. I mean, getting fourth place kind of stung when your biggest strength was your ability to be elected president, how likable you are. That doesn't really go well on your resume. The Quinnipiac poll is a left-leaning poll that traditionally has had worse numbers for President Donald Trump than many other places that conduct polling. For example, Quinnipiac reported that Trump's approval rating matched his previous all-time high in the poll at 43%, which is 6 points lower than the approval rating that he received from Gallup last week. So, again, I mean, polls, obviously it's going to be biased depending on who you're polling. Trump's approval rating kind of jumps between 43 and 51%, depending on the poll you look at. I kind of like to go in the middle, say it's around 47, 48%. Still pretty good approval rating. I think it's higher than what Obama's approval rating was, and he got reelected, so I think that's a good sign for President Donald Trump. So to end off today's episode, I want to talk to you about the Oscars. I don't want to really talk about who won the awards because I can make that episode another. There's no point making the episode another day because you know the awards by now. Parasite won both Best Director and Best Picture, which I didn't see the film, so I don't know if they deserved it. I personally thought Sam Mendes and 1917 were going to win, respectively, for their own categories, and I think they kind of deserved it. I don't want to say anything. I feel like maybe there was some influence from politically for the Oscars to give it to Parasite, but I could be completely wrong. Parasite could have very well have been the best film of the year. I am not denying that at all. It could very well have been. I haven't seen it. It was not released at all in the United States, I don't believe. Maybe in very select theaters. I know it was released in the Cannes Film Festival and it won the award. It won the Palme d'Or, I think, or whatever the awards are. Again, Parasite, did it deserve to win? Maybe. I would have to give you my opinion on it when I eventually go on to see it. I personally thought 1917 was going to win it, and it looks like it was the favorites going into it, but then Parasite kind of came out and took the awards. But I don't really want to talk about that because that's not really what we're interested in. We're interested in the politics that these rich Hollywood celebrities have because you know that they are the voice of reason for politics, right? Wrong. Oscar ratings were the worst of all time after the award show that promoted far-left politics, and boy, oh boy, were there some politics that were being thrown around. So the Oscars took a massive hit in the ratings after the award show promoted left-wing politics on Sunday night, ranging from criticizing Republicans all the way to quoting Karl Marx's Communist Manifesto. So we'll get into kind of each example. Criticizing Republicans, this came from Brad Pitt winning the first televised award of the night for Best Supporting Actor in the film Once Upon a Time in Hollywood that was directed by Quentin Tarantino. His start of his speech I rolled my eyes when I heard it. Brad Pitt said he only had 45 seconds to talk, which was 45 seconds more than the Senate gave John Bolton in the trial. And I facepalmed immediately when I heard that. It was just, why? Just do what Ricky Gervais said. Just thank your agent, thank the director, thank everyone else, but don't bring politics into it because you're not qualified to talk about politics. You're an actor that has not studied the subject. I mean, I don't claim to be qualified to talk a lot about this stuff, but I've done my research, so I have at least some small qualifications. These actors have nothing. Brad Pitt has no qualifications in politics besides the fact that he's rich, and the only way that he can get accepted in Hollywood is by criticizing President Trump or by criticizing the Republican Party in general. Deadline reported that the ceremony, which clocked in at 3 hours and 35 minutes, up from 3 hours and 23 minutes in 2019, could not repeat last year's ratings turnaround, drawing 23.6 million total viewers and a 5.3 rating in the adults 18-year to 49-year-old demographic, based on the Nielsen's Live Plus same-day fast national ratings ordered by ABC. That is down sharply negative 20% in viewers and negative 31% in the demo from last year's 29.6 million and 7.7 adults 18 to 49 rating. That's a huge drop, and I don't want to say that it's mainly due to the politics. It probably has a lot to do with the politics, but I mean, I'm sure if you click on and watch the Oscars, even if you click off, it still counts as a viewing. But I feel like, especially with Joaquin Phoenix, his Golden Globe speech was all about environmental issues. I'm sure people did not want to tune in to listen to that because they knew it was going to talk about it. And boy, Joaquin's speech was very interesting to say the least. The Oscars joined the Emmy Awards in suffering steep rating declines. The September 2019 Emmy broadcast on Fox fell by 32% in viewers and 29% in adults 18 to 49 from the previous year, according to THR. By comparison, the declines for January's Golden Globes, off by 4% in viewers and 10% in the 18 to 49 demo, and Grammys, which were down 6% in viewers, 4% in the demo, were fairly slight. So award shows really going down in the ratings. Politics have to do with this? Probably. Maybe just people just aren't interested in it anymore because the music, for example, the Grammys has gone down in quality. Maybe they weren't interested in movies or in TV shows. But I think politics could have something to do with it because the average viewer isn't all that interested in watching their favorite actor just spew a bunch of BS, because that's what I'm going to call it, on screen. Just think, literally Ricky Gervais said the perfect thing. Just thank your director and get the off the stage, is basically what Ricky Gervais said. Basically. Then that's all you have to do. They're actors. They spend millions of dollars on tuxedos. They're actors. You're not qualified to talk about politics and any of this stuff. Just thank the people who you want to thank and just go. You won the award. So the prime example that I can give, and this episode is getting long, so I'll go ahead and cut it off after this, but the prime example I can give is when the first Netflix film produced by former President Obama and Michelle Obama's production company, it won an award on Sunday. It was American Factory. And while accepting the award, the filmmakers recited the Communist Manifesto, which was very interesting. Obviously, Karl Marx wrote that. Julia Reichert of American Factory received the award and said, "Working people will have it harder and harder these days. And we believe that these things will get better when workers of the world unite." And that term, Workers of the World Unite, comes directly from the Communist Manifesto and was very much noticed by critics. Joaquin Phoenix obviously talked about cows and artificially inseminating cows for their milk, which was interesting, to say the least. Brad Pitt, obviously, as I said before, took a shot at the Republicans in the Senate. It was just an interesting night. It was very cringy. Some of the hosts, if you can even call them hosts, were not funny at all. I can say that because I'm not afraid of the repercussions, but I just want to end it off on there. The Oscars were not my favorite this year. So I predicted some of the awards to win, obviously, but honestly, I kind of got bored because of all of this politics talk in award show. I mean, come on. Just leave all that stuff out of it and just accept your awards. That's basically where we're going to end it off for today. I apologize for the long episode, but kind of want to make up for what I have missed over the last couple of days. And I know I haven't even covered everything, but I do want to end it off there. So thank you very much, and I'll go ahead and see you tomorrow. My name is Sebastian Giraldo, and you are listening to The Giraldo Show.